Okay, so good morning, everyone. Today we'll be doing this poem, We Are the Music Makers, by Arthur O Shaughnessy. First, we'll do the introduction of the poet, and then we'll start with the poem. Arthur William Edgar Shaughnessy, 1844 to 1881, was a British poet of Irish descent. Though he worked as a herpetologist, who is a herpetologist? Who studies those the study of reptiles and amphibians is called herpetology, right? In the zoological department of the museum. His true passion was literature. So though he worked as a herpetologist, but his true passion was always the study of literature. He published his first collection of poetry, Epic of Women, in 1870, followed 2 years later by Lays of France in 1872, and then Music in Moonlight in 1874. He died at the age of 36 from a chill after walking home from the theater on a rainy night. So he died quite young. He died at the age of 36. He caught chill, and so he died. His last volumes, Songs of a Worker, was published posthumously in 1881. Posthumously means after the death of the
After
person,
that,
right? The artist Dante Gabriel Rossetti and Ford Madox Brown were among O'Shaughnessy's circle of friends, and he was deeply influenced by Rossetti's poems. So the Rossetti's poems were his inspiration. His poems were marked by haunting music. By far, the most noted of any his works is the most noted of any his works is the ode from his book Music and Moonlight, 1874. Means that the most noted work which he has created, his most noted creation is this ode which we are going to study today, right? Ode from his book Music and Moonlight. So this is one of the most popular odes of Shaughnessy, also known as We Are the Music Makers. What is an ode? Ode is a type of a
poem
poem.
written
in praise to praise something or someone.
Yes. So ode is the type which is written to praise someone. Like when you write something to express very strong feelings of love and respect and you can say reverence towards something or someone, then it is an ode. It is a poem dedicated to artists, poets, writers, and musicians, people who live in the world of fantasy and build utopias of their own. Utopia is an imaginary place, right?
imaginary.
Where
Yes,
everything is perfect, right? Where everything is perfect. And the opposite of utopia is dystopia, right? With a very imperfect legal system and where the government is not perfect. So that is known as dystopia. That is the opposite of utopia. But utopia is a place where the government is perfect, right? This word was concocted by Plato in his Republic, right? This is Plato's creation. So uh, utopias of their own. They are world losers and world forsakers. So they don't stay with the world. They don't follow the world, common worldly tradition. They stay away from the world. They have, they are the people, these artists, poets, creators, they are the people who have forsaken the world. They don't follow this rat race which is going on in the world. So who have opted out of the rat race. So they just sit in one corner, right? They are far away from the crowd. They don't mix with the common people. They stay away from the common people and from the common traditions of the world, right? They are very unconventional people, you can say, and perhaps through their dreams bring about changes in the world. And they are the ones who are responsible for bringing about changes in the world. They are the people who actually shake the world. So before we start with the poem, let's first discuss the theme of the poem. What does the poem deal with? The major theme of the poem is the transformative power of art. See, what happened was that this poem contradicts the philosophy of art for the art's sake. L'art pour l'art is a French, you can say, slogan, which was given by Victor Cousin. Victor Cousin was the person, he was a French person, and he gave that slogan, l'art pour l'art, right, in French. And the English translation of this slogan was art for the art's sake. And he believed that the chief purpose of art was to just communicate or just to express the views and the ideas and the opinions of the artist. The art doesn't perform any other function besides this, besides the communication of the ideas or the feelings or the opinions of an artist. This is the only function of art. This philosophy was propagated by Victor Cousin, right? He was a philosopher, and he believed that the only purpose of art should be for the art's sake, right? For the enjoyment and for the expression of the ideas of the artist, who is the person who is the creator of that piece of art. But Shaughnessy has, you can say, kind of revolted against that philosophy, right? He said in this poem, he has said and he has explained how art can bring about transformation. That is the major theme of the poem. The poem deals with the transformative power of the art, how art can change, how artists are the creators. They are the people who, you can say, motivate others. They are the people who give ideas to the world to create something new, right? They have the power to shake the world. And thus, if they can shake the world, then they can bring about the changes in the world, right? Like you take any of the poems which we have studied. Take, for example, John Brown. John Brown is what? John Brown we have done in class 11. So what is what does John Brown try to tell us? It is an anti-war poem, right? So what is the objective of that poem? To transform the world, to do away with any type of war, because war is not something to be very proud of. War should not be encouraged. The political parties, the countries, they should dissuade from going for a war, considering war as an option. Because the poem talks about the destructive aspect of war, right? Take any other poem, take The Gift of India. Take Dover Beach, we have done Dover Beach also. What does Dover Beach talk about? It talks about the loss of faith in God and religion, and the disadvantages of all these things, disadvantages of this particular fact that the people are moving away from religion, they are moving away from God. What is the repercussion of this? The repercussion of this is that people, they have become selfish, they have become self-centered, they have become very materialistic. So this is what Shaughnessy, I'm talking only about poetry. There are other forms of art also, like writing novels, dramas, and music, right? So all these things, they are not just for pleasure, or art is not just for the sake of art. Art is to bring about transformation in the society, to transform the world for the better. That is the objective of art. This was said by Shaughnessy through this poem, right? So this is a node which has been dedicated to all the artists, whether it is a musician, a writer, a poet, a dramatist, or any form of creator. So let's start with the poem. So the major theme of the poem is clear: the transformative power of art. Art is capable of bringing about social change, right? Why? How does art bring about the social change? Because the piece of art excites the emotions of humans, right? And if the art is capable of exciting the human emotion, then what will happen? They will rebel against the against something which is wrong, something which is going on in the society, and that is not that is kind of some kind of injustice. And once they will rebel against, they will rally against that particular thing, then only change can be brought about. Take for example, you know that before these aeroplanes were created, before that also people were flying. In poetry, in stories, people were flying before this invention of aeroplane and any other medium to medium of transportation through air. Yes or no? They were flying long ago in the stories and poems also. So they gave the idea. It was the poets and the writers who gave the idea that humans can also fly, right? Through their poetry or through their story, through their novels and all these things. There were so many fairy tales which talk about all these things. Okay, let's start with the poem. We are the music makers, author William Edgar O Shaughnessy. We are the music makers and we are the dreamers of dream. So we here is a collective reference to all the creators, to all the artists, whether they are the poets, whether they are the writers, whether they are the musicians, right? So it's a collective reference. It's the collective voice of all the artists, you can say. We are the music makers. So we are the makers of music, we are the musicians, and we are the dreamers of dreams. Dreamers of dreams means we are the people who dream, right? So we are the people who dream, because music has the ability to transfer one person from this mundane reality, from the dull realities of the world, to the world of dreams. So we stay away from the world and we just sit in one peaceful corner, and then we dream. Dreamers of dreams is again a reference to the artists, right? Especially the poets and the writers. Wandering by lone sea breakers. Sea breakers are the large waves of the sea, right? So we don't stay in the crowded places of the world. Where do we wander, or where do we spend our time? We spend our time near the sea, near the sea waves, right? Some we sit on the some lonely bank or some lonely shore, and sitting by desolate streams. Desolate stream means again the fallen streams where the people, where the many people they don't visit. World losers and world forsakers. We are the people who are fond of sitting in quiet places, lonely places, desolate places, forlorn places. We enjoy sitting at such places of the world. We don't believe in mixing with the world. We are not a part of the hustle and bustle of this world. Why? Because we have forsaken the world and we are the world losers, right? So it means that for us, the world is not important. Being with the world is not important. The society has kind of left us alone, and we also don't like being with the society, right? So we have kind of renounced the world. Forsaken means we have renounced the world. Renounce the world here means that we have renounced the comforts of the world. Have you seen these artists? They are really very strange and weird people, right? The people who are completely absorbed in their art, they are like, they don't know. You switch off the fan, they will keep on sitting in the room. They will not even feel the heat. They don't even feel the cold. They don't bother how they look. They don't bother what people are thinking about them. It doesn't affect them. So this is the meaning of that they have forsaken the world. They have sacrificed the world and renounced all the comforts of the world. It doesn't affect them, right? What happens to a normal, common human being? We take care of the way we look, right? We take care of the ways we present ourselves in the society. We even take care, we are very cautious of what we are going to utter in front of people. But these people, these artists and creators, they don't bother, right? So they are very unconventional people. They are not typical common people. So the world considers them to be losers. Why? Because they stay away from the world. So the opinion of the world, the opinion of the society is that they are the losers. But the reality is that they have forsaken the world, right? They don't find the world and the norms of this world, the rules and regulations of the society to be very interesting or to be worth following, right? So they stay away from it. Up, upon whom the pale moon gleams. Upon whom the pale moon gleams means, the pale moon means the moon which is not very bright, right? If the moon is shining brightly, it won't appear pale. It will appear to be somewhat white in color. But if the moon is not shining brightly, it appears to be slightly pale in color. Gleams means to shine very faintly, means like to appear very faintly, right? So that is gleam. So when does the moon gleam? At night. So they are the people who can even sit during the night near some sea and near some stream also, right? They enjoy doing it, right? They love being solitary. Yet we are the movers and shakers of the world forever, it seems. But he says that though we have left the world, though we have forsaken all the comforts of the world, though this world considers us to be losers, but we are the people who are responsible for moving and shaking the world, right? Because we are, see, any type of change can only be brought about by some person who is very unconventional and irrational. What will a rational person do? I told you one quote of Shaw, DB Shaw in the past. See, what will any normal person do? He will just, from his birth, he will go on following the normal ways and the laws and the rules of the world and the society, right? It's only these strange people, these artists who are the creators, who have the power to move the world, because they are the ones who dare to think against something. They are the ones who are able to raise their voice through their piece of art, whether it is music, whether it is their poetry or any other form of art. They are the ones who revolt against the present system, right? So that is why they have the power to move the world and to shake the world. Move the world and shake the world means to rebel, right? And shake the existing system, existing setup, and push the world to bring about a change, to move forward, to change something which is like not working according to the present situation. See, we need to change according to time. And who is responsible for bringing about these changes? All these creators and the artists, right? They are actually the people who inspire the world, who inspire the common man to bring about this change of the world forever, it seems. So forever, they change the world forever means they talk about they concentrate on bringing about permanent changes in the world, though they don't become a part of the world. They renounce the world, they stay away from the world, but still they are the ones who bring about all the changes. In spite of staying aloof from the society, in spite of staying away from the society, they change the world through their art. With wonderful deathless deities, we build up the world's great cities, and out of fabulous story, we fashion an empire's glory. One man with a dream at pleasure shall go forth and conquer a crown, and three, with a new song's measure, can trample an empire down. So, in this stanza, the poet says that with wonderful deathless deities, deathless means something which is immortal, everlasting, right? Something which is eternal, will never come to an end. So, they are the people who write deathless deities. Deities means songs, right? They are the people. Please mute yourself because all these disturbances will also be recorded. With wonderful deathless deities. Deities, the literal meaning of deities is songs, but here the meaning is creations, right? So with their everlasting creations, their eternal creation, we build up the world's greatest cities. It is because what happens in their piece of art, right? In their story, in their poetry, in their song, what does an artist do? Because artist is the person who is the creator of all these things, so he has the power to build up the world's greatest cities. Artists have created the greatest cities of the world in their piece of art, right? Like suppose if I am writing a story, so I am the person, I am the creator, and I can write about anything. I can write about the creation of a great city in my story, and out of a fabulous story we fashion an empire's glory. And these story writers, the people who write stories, in the first two lines he's talking about the musicians, right? And the people who write songs, the people who are related to music, any form of music. They can be lyricists, they can be the people who play some instrument or sing a song or whatever. So all these musicians he is talking about with wonderful deathless deities. So they have created such beautiful songs that in their songs, what happens? The greatest cities of the world have been created, right? These artists, these musicians, they have created the greatest cities of the world in their songs, and out of a fabulous story. And in this line, he talks about the writers, the people who write stories, the story writers. What have they done? They have, and out of the fabulous story, we fashion an empire's glory. So they have shaped up the glorious empire through their stories. In their stories, they have, in their fabulous means extremely good, right? Very nice story. So story is again a piece of imagination, right? In their fantasy, they have shaped up, they have created the greatest and the most glorious empires of the world. They have written about the most glorious empires of the world in their stories. A man with a dream at pleasure shall go forth and conquer a crown. And they have written in their writings what happens. A man, a common man, also has the power to go and conquer the crown. Any commoner, through their stories, they have written, they have given the power to any common man, they have given the liberty to any common man to dream at his pleasure and go and conquer the crown. They have written about people who are about some person who was a common man, but he had the liberty to go and defeat the king and capture the throne. So we find these kind of stories where a commoner becomes the king, right? So what happens? These things have been an inspiration to the world. These stories, these type of music, they have always inspired the world. Conquer a crown means to defeat the king and capture the throne, right? Take over the throne from the king. So normally it refers to the fall of dynasties. It's a reference to the fall of the great dynasties, right? In the stories, what happens? Even the greatest of the kings, they are defeated by some common man, right? So it is the writers who give this liberty, who give this freedom to a common man to go and conquer the throne. And three, with the new songs measure, can trample an empire. And then it is the songwriters who give the freedom to another man to bring about the downfall of an empire through their revolution, right? If the common people, if a group of common, here three means a group, if a group of common people, they decide to trample, the trample means to crush. If they decide to defeat the empire, if they decide to trample the empire, then it is these writers and creators who give the power to a common man, either to go and acquire the throne or to trample the empire, to crush one of the greatest empires. This power can only be given by these creators in their stories or in their work of art. We in the ages line, in the buried past of the earth, built Nineveh with our sign, and Babel itself with our mirth, and overthrew them with prophesying to the old of the new world's worth. For each age is a dream that is dying, or one that is coming to birth. Now, see, in this stanza, a lot of illusions have been used. Right? Let's discuss the poetic devices also. Can you find out the places where alliteration has been used? The fourth line.
First line of the poem.
Yes, the first line there is an alliteration. M is repeated. Then the fourth line, sitting in his streams. Yes, second line also, it's a dreamer of dreams. Then fourth line also, sitting in streams. So there are a lot of alliterations, right? Then the first line of the next stanza, that is the second stanza, also there is an alliteration with wonderful and deathless and deities, right? So you can find out. This is perhaps the easiest figure of a speech which you can find out. So then in this last stanza, the poet has used a lot of allusions, right? Like two allusions have been used from the Bible. Two biblical allusions have been used. That is the city of Nineveh, about the city of Nineveh, and Babel, right? He has talked about these two cities. You can write it down, note it down somewhere if you want. See, Nineveh was an ancient Assyrian city in Mesopotamia, which is now known as Iraq, right? And it was the capital of the Assyrian Empire. But what happened? This city was founded by Nimrod. He was the king. The city was founded by Nimrod, and this is a reference from the Bible. And it came to ruins. And once it was ruined, the city was ruined. It was never again rebuilt. Right? So it was the capital of the Assyrian Empire, founded by Nimrod, and then the city was somehow ruined, and then it was never again rebuilt. This is clear? This is about Nineveh. And what about Babel? Babel, what happened? The people of Babel, they wanted to build a tower, right? A huge tower so that they can reach heaven. They wanted to compete with God. That tower would be their proud symbol, a symbol of their unity, and they wanted to equal the power of God, the people of Babel. So what did God do? God, to punish them, he gave them different languages. And when once God gave them different languages, what happened? Everyone was, all the people who were constructing that tower, they started talking in their own language. So nobody understood what the other person was speaking. They were only talking. And so that tower was never built. The people were so happy and they were so proud of their power that they wanted to build a tower to reach heaven. Right? They wanted to construct a tower to reach heaven. Right? But so God, as a punishment, gave them different languages. And so they were like, they started fighting. They were not able to understand. So they were not able to communicate among themselves. So how will you construct? Right? It needs a team effort to construct a tower, because the people, they were, everyone was speaking a different language. So there was no proper communication. So that tower was never built. So these are the two illusions which have been used. You need to know these illusions. We in the ages lying in the buried past of the earth. So we are the people who whose work is lying buried past of the earth. Whatever we have created, all the ruins of the earth, all the things which are ruined now, which are history now, they were our creations. They were created by us. So anything about which we know, about which you know, which is a part of our history now, right? Those were actually created by us. So our creations are lying buried in the past. Our creations, some of our creations have become history now, in the buried past of the earth. Buried past of the earth means something which is history now, right? Which has been ruined and destroyed, which is no longer in use. Built Nineveh with our sign. So we are the people who created this Assyrian city, this Assyrian capital, this popular city with our sign, with our sorrow. See, this city was destroyed. So destruction is something which is sorrowful. So that is why it is saying that this reference to Nineveh is like the poet wants to say that it is because of our sorrow that we built Nineveh, right? Why? Because what was the result? What was the ultimate result of the city? That the city was destroyed. And when we were happy, see, constructing a tower is always a reference to happiness, to pride. So this reference to Babel is that whenever we are happy, we start building towers like Babel. See, a Babel itself with our mirth. Mirth means happiness, right? So that tower of Babel was constructed by us when we were happy. It is out of our happiness that we constructed that tower of Babel, and it was when we were in a sorrowful mood that we constructed the city of Nineveh. Build Nineveh with our sighing. Sighing is when you take a deep, long breath, right? So that is sighing. So here, this sighing means sorrow, right? Through our sorrow, we created the city of Nineveh. When we are depressed, we can build cities like Nineveh, right? We can create cities like Nineveh. And then whenever we are happy, with our mirth means happiness. So whenever we are happy, we can build towers like Babel and overthrow them with prophesying. Prophesying here means prediction, professing to the old of the new world's worth. And what can we do? Because we are the creators, we have the power to create. And once we think it necessary to destroy our creations, we are the people who go to the extent of destroying our own creations. If we feel that that particular thing which was created by us is no longer useful to the world, is not serving any proper purpose to the world, then we can even go and destroy our own creations. If we predict means to think about the future, to say something about the future, to know the future, that is predicting. So if we prophesy, if we feel that something which is like not useful to the world, or which is not required by the world, or which can harm the world, then we overthrow our own creations. Overthrow here means that we destroy our own creations to the old of the new world's world. If we feel that the world needs a change, see, these two illusions establish this particular point of the poet. They created a beautiful city of Nineveh, and then they felt that they prophesied, they predicted that this city is not required by the world any longer, and so they can even destroy a beautiful city like Nineveh. Once they are happy, they construct towers like Babel, and then that tower is pulled down also by them, right? So they are not scared of destroying their own creations. If they start feeling that it is now useless, it is not required by the world, or it will harm the world, or the world doesn't need it, then they are the creators also, and they are the destructors also. They can go to the extent of destroying their own creation also. Why? See, any change doesn't take place only by creating. If you are creating something, you need to destroy the existing system also. Then only change will take place. Creation cannot take place without destruction. Because unless you will destroy the thing which is existing at the present moment, where will you keep the thing which you have created? Right? So creation and destruction happen together. So that is what the poet means to say. That once we are in a sorrowful mood, we create cities like Nineveh, and once we are in a happy mood, we create cities like we create towers like Babel. And then when we predict the future and feel that now the world doesn't need it, or the thing which we have created is useless, we are not scared of destroying it to the old of the new world's world. If we feel that the new world, it's not worthy for the new world, then we destroy it. We consider it as old, we consider it as obsolete, and then we destroy it. For each age is a dream that is dying, or one that is coming to birth. Why? Because age, every era is a dream that is dying. Means as the time is moving, what has happened? You dream of a particular thing today, and then from the next day it will start dying. From the next moment, rather, it will start dying. If something comes in your mind, or if you dream of something, what is it? It is the birth of an idea. But in this world, nothing stays forever. So because it is the birth of an idea, and from the birth, the process of death also starts. Yes or no? If something is born, it will die at some point of time. It will have a certain life, and it will die at some point of time. So what is birth? Birth, from the exactly from the time of birth, the process of death also starts, right? You start moving towards death. Anything which is born, which is created, from the time of its creation, it starts moving towards its end, right? So for each age is a dream that is dying, because every age is what? It is like a dream which is dying, and it will come to an end at some point of time, or one that is coming to birth. Like I told you, creation and destruction go hand in hand. So each age which is going on at present is like a dream which is dying, and one that is coming to birth. And because the present is dying, so there is another age, something new which is trying to replace it. So another thing is trying to take birth, because death and birth are not isolated from each other. They go on together. That is what the poet means to say. Because the present time is moving forward towards death, and what is happening? There is something else which is in the process of its birth, which is waiting to be born, and which will replace this thing, this system which is going on during the present time. Is it clear? So it's the dreams and the aspirations of the present era. They will die. We are not going to think in the same manner, and we have not always thought in the same manner from time immemorial. Our views have changed, our philosophies have changed. Every moment something new is happening in this world. You remember that quote, old order changeth, yielding place to new. So this is how the whole world moves on. And these artists, these music makers, these creators, they are the people who are very actively involved in this process of change, in this process of death and rebirth. This is clear. So with this we come to the end of this poem.